Welcome to the Crow's Nest Podcast, the official podcast of Candace Crow Design. I'm Candace Crow.
And I'm TK.
Today's guest is Tyler Terry, a true pioneer in technology for aesthetic practices.
With over 12 years of experience, including a pivotal role at TouchMD, Tyler has been at the forefront of integrating cutting-edge solutions into the aesthetic world. In 2017, he led the charge in launching TouchMD's med spa expansion, forging key partnerships that helped redefine the industry. Now, following TouchMD's acquisition, Tyler continues to push boundaries as the Director of Sales Med Spas at Nextech.
Today, in addition to lively conversation, Tyler will share practical action items to help you unlock the hidden treasures within TouchMD and Snap.
So let's dive in.
Here we go. Tyler, what's it been? 10, 11 years we've known each other?
Yes. And I remember how, the original founders, when I'd walked by your booth one time, and I think you guys are giving out like popcorn. You had a popcorn machine. I'm like, I want to go get some popcorn. And I didn't even really know. And then I was like, hey, why don't we, I think I started talking to you guys and I'm like, why don't we have a better relationship with you guys? And I remember bringing up to Jason and Karen, like, that's a competitor. Hey, listen, be careful, And I was like, they were so nice. Yeah, my opinion, I was like, they were so nice though. And it seemed like they genuinely wanted to like work with us.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I always remember that, a lot of people, kind of relating it to, not to relate you to a religion, but I'm in Utah. And when I tell people I'm from Utah, they tend to say, are you Mormon? Are you LDS? And that they get a good feeling though. A lot of times like, oh, I know this really nice Mormon family or LDS family, or my neighbor was, or I dated a girl or whatever. Anyways, from that point on with you guys, I thought you guys are so nice. Like you guys are just the nicest people. I didn't care if we competed or not, or had mutual clients or not. And I remember there was a guy in, gosh, where was he? I think he may have been in Mobile. He was somewhere in Alabama. No, wait. No, he was in Louisiana. Anyways, there was a doctor who he said he was one of your very first clients and he wanted to use both systems. And I'm trying to think of it. I think he was a facial plastic surgeon. I gotta think of his. Yes, Kevin Dupleshain. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yes. And I was 2013 and I remember going like prospecting, dropping by his office. And he told me he had you guys and he loved you guys. And he was like, I wish there was a way you guys could work together. So anyways, it comes full circle to what the last few years now, we've had a great synergy ever since, I don't know, what, 2022, 2021. I don't know, maybe even pre-COVID, but it seems like at least the last 5 years, it's felt like we have a great partnership, which is what I wish it would have always been. And sometimes that's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Well, we're glad for today. And so with that, okay, you've known him probably 11 or 12 years, 11 years.
Yeah, it all blends together. I remember watching you do such a good job on camera, and some of your educational and tutorial videos that's my first introduction to you, was watching those, and I was always just blown away with how professional and uh, well articulate your videos are. So not
Thank
to
you.
blow too much smoke up.
No, hey,
yeah.
no, it's great.
But I've had the privilege of watching some of your podcasts and just listening to you speak, and something that's come up in those has been this idea of the golden minutes. And so I would just love to hear you talk about what they are, how practices can utilize them better, and just the general idea of the golden minutes.
Yeah, of course. So honestly, I was blessed to where, since we were a small business, my mentor, who was our CEO, kind of just let me fly. And as I was flying for TouchMD, doing all the things, whether it was like bringing cool new ideas, testing out new ways to sell it, new ways to present it, using GoToMeeting for the first time in 2016 to try to sell a $20,000 software remotely when people didn't like that. I would schedule a demo and not tell them I wasn't coming in, but I wouldn't tell them it was virtual. And then I'd kind of surprise them with it being virtual and then close my first deal. Anyways, I've had the opportunity to sell to hundreds, I think over 700 practices, and then train about 150 to 200 practices. And when I was training, I realized that we were missing out on a huge value proposition, being that point of care education, and those subtle minutes prior to the consult, and using the technology like a menu. And as I would ask my probing questions, I would start to realize they all had about 3 to 7 minutes. And I had to be careful because some people said, I don't have 15 or 20 minutes, Tyler. I have 3. And if I said 15 or 20, they'd say, no way I'm going to have 15 to 20 minutes. I have like 2, or I don't have any. So I would leave it to them. I'd ask them if they had any time, but I would also teach them the value of this precious time that's usually almost, definitely the majority of people underutilize the golden minutes. The golden minutes are the time while the patient is at the most essential point of their patient journey. They're waiting to be seen by the provider, and they're in the room captive on their own. And if you don't take advantage of that time, you leave it to the patient to decide what they're going to do with that time. And oftentimes they do what they normally do. If they're sitting in a bus or on a plane, or if they're, in between meetings, they are looking down at their phone and browsing through social, or, ordering groceries, or texting somebody, or whatever, reading something. And instead of that, it's a perfect time to educate your patients. And sometimes you could disguise education, or sometimes you could disguise marketing as education. So it's, especially today, people want to drive, they want to be in the driver's seat, they want to feel like they're in control. And when they feel like they're in control, they don't mind if you advertise them while they're browsing, whether it's through a Snapchat or an Instagram story or TikTok. They know that the ads are coming, but they just like to feel like they're in control. It's like when you're driving on the freeway, you know that the billboards are there and you don't have to look at them, but you're driving and you might look and you might be intrigued. And so the concept is to maximize those precious minutes, typically 3 to 7 minutes pre-consult, and to invite the patient to educate themselves subtly and subliminally while they're waiting. And you have a talk track. Typically it's, I prep the room. I have an iPad in the room, typically on a beautiful gooseneck stand. I'm the staff member. I log in the patient, and then I pull up whatever service the patient's here for. So it could be anything, but like, I have an iPad. Here's Cool Sculpting. It could be Botox. It could be Sculpt, whatever. And while that patient's waiting, I'd have a talk track where it said, "Hey, Ashley, this is our new technology that we've invested in to enhance your experience today. While you're waiting, you can press play and watch a video. You can look at some of our before and after photos, or you can read reviews. If you have time, you can even hit that back button to browse through everything else, or you can even sign in or sign up for Allie. We'll be with you shortly." And then from there, you always take them back to the home page, and then they get to say, "Oh yeah, I do want to browse," or "Oops, I didn't get time to browse through Cool Sculpting. I do want to check out some before and afters." And then in today's world, based on the generation, Gen X might want to watch a short form video. Boomers might want to read. Millennials are maybe a little bit of both, depending. But the goal is to have content tailored to all generations of patients, and then for them to decide what they're looking at. And then what's cool as a provider, no, it's not cool to say cool, but what's cool is the provider can actually track what the patient's looking at before they walk in. So it's a win-win. The patient's either going to have better questions for a better consult, or they're going to be more educated on something else. And when they're more educated on something else, that means we're cross-selling and upselling, but in the best way, because the patient got to decide that they genuinely wanted to seek it out. And then it's all about designing and formatting the content so that they're able to stumble upon it, almost like a grocery store. The milk is in the back, right? Why is the milk in the back? Or, the different things. Why is the lighting on the fruit perfect? So then it's about being strategic as to how we design, just like when you design your website, how do we design our TouchMD system? And we believe that, hey, just as every practice should have a website, yep, great, everyone should. When we first met, that wasn't a thing, right? Not everyone had a website. Today, everyone has a website. That everyone should have a TouchMD system. Everyone should have a menu in the room. If it's not a TouchMD system, a menu at the point of care. I don't know of any other menu in the market. So a digital menu for the patient to interact with.
Mm-hmm.
That's really wise. It's really reframing wait time as golden minutes.
100%.
Yeah.
And
It's
if a
exactly what it
practice,
is.
yeah, if a practice can start calling them the golden minutes, they're going to treat it differently.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, so that's an excellent tip number 1 for the hidden treasures in TouchMD and
And
Snap.
that is a hidden treasure. That is actually something that most practices that have TouchMD don't even know that they can do it, or it's just they never had time to train on it. And it's there and it's so important. It does eliminate the need for brochures. And these brochures you could track. It's like, what if you could go back and track all the times that the patient took a brochure and put it in his pocket or put it in her purse? And you can do that now.
Absolutely. So we're going to go into hidden treasure number 2. And this is a problem I hear often is I just can't get my releases signed for my before and afters. And who should ask? How should they ask? Where are they stored? How can they access them easily once they do get a release to be able to identify what pictures they can use where? So, what are some of the hidden treasures in TouchMD that will help get more releases signed and be able to find them easily when they need to use the pictures?
Yeah, amazing question. So, I mean, essentially, we want to tee up an amazing experience. And the idea is to have an amazing experience paired with a great result. And then, if we can have beautiful before and after, consistent before and after photos to give to the patient. So, we want to create something that they want access to. And if we create not only the content that they want access to, but an amazing experience and something that they're excited to share, it becomes pretty easy to have that conversation with the patient. So when we can razzle dazzle a little bit with some tools, I think anybody would want something beautiful to show the patient if they just had a great result, because that's the bread and butter of what practices are striving to do and patients are striving to achieve. And so what we do is we're able to take a before and after photo and quickly get it in front of the patient in real time and then actually do something with the photo. And when we do something with the photo and we have that memorable moment with the patient, typically the patient, yeah, they do want to see it from home. So, if we could quickly take, I'm doing this as I'm talking to you guys just down with my finger, but if we could take a before and after photo, and I know not everybody could see this, but I'm sliding and gliding a before that overlays with the after, and I could do that with the patient and they could see the difference. Even if they were having a hard time seeing it, I could point it out and zoom in and circle, but then I could click save and click video and create a little reveal video. And then I can prep it and put a watermark on it and, just kind of, again, razzle dazzle with the patient. I look very buttoned up. I look like I know what I'm doing as a provider. I look like I am invested in the best technology in the market because it is, and I am. And I'm invested in the patient. So then at that point, it depends on the patient and it depends on the practice, really. So we like to put QR codes um, in the practice based on the practice, right? So if you put a QR code on your photo dial, so while the patient is standing on the photo dial, they could scan that QR code to download the patient app, and then they could see them from home. And the practices can track which pictures they can and can't see. Patients can sign their documents on that app in the office or from home. A lot of practices will actually give the patient $5 off every time that they check out if they show that they have the app on their phone. And when they do that, practices can actually market to the patient. So it's called app blasting. So you can target market patients based on either one, what they're looking at, so the content that they're exploring, two, their photo tag. So if I tag their photo as kiss or lips or social media or TikTok, I could just search for that TikTok, Instagram tag for their photo, and then I can market to them based on the tag. I can market based on recommendations or even market based on what patients are hearting while they're waiting. So there's also a hearting component to this where they're engaging. But yeah, if we're able to actually um, get patients excited about the content that they want to see because they have this result that they want to share, that's where the magic happens. But essentially, getting the patient to sign the consent, we're trying to just make it as easy as possible, almost a no-brainer to say, we have this incredible result. We want you to see it. Here's the app so that you can see it. When you show the app, you're going to get a discount. But if you sign this consent, we would love to post this on social, maybe collaborate with you, or whatever the case may be. So it kind of depends on the practice, and there's a bunch of different talk tracks for it. But it's this combination of great result, great experience, cool technology, to where we're just kind of lowering the barriers to where they're like, yeah, of course, look what you just did for me, and I get access to this. and I could just sign the consent right here. Great.
Now, if they don't sign, are you able to kind of do push notifications just to say, hey, like friendly reminder, are you open to signing a release so that we can use these for educational or marketing?
You could still do that. So you could tag, yeah, you could like tag certain patients where it's like they didn't sign. Let's follow up with them. Yeah, there's different things we could do there. And this blast, it's not meant to replace text blast or text marketing or email marketing. It's meant to complement and pair. So it adds a third lane of marketing, just like Starbucks pushing notifications to the Starbucks app or the Tesla app or whatever the case may be.
It's really a
That's awesome.
sophisticated software, it sounds like.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that you show the photos while you're, thinking about getting the release. It's kind of like reframing the whole, because so many of the practices that I've worked with, they sign the release as part of their patient paperwork versus like, when you're sitting there with them, showing them their result versus what they looked like before. It's such a more
Yeah.
powerful moment to be like, hey, look at these differences. Let's show the world this so that more people with these same, insecurities or whatever can have the same result you are. So I really like that.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you. And
brilliant.
I was going to say there is one thing I've heard a few practices, actually quite a few practices do this, where they'll let the patient know, hey, we feel like you're super happy, you're excited right now, we're excited, we're giving you the content, all the things I said before. But one thing we do, if you do decide to give us access, when we're sending out push notifications, we have a specific group, being the group that allows us to use their photos on social. We have a specific group that we give, kind of our first to market discounts, or, when we bring out a new laser for the first time, or, we're testing something
Interesting.
out, you guys are part of that. So, and when they do that, patients are like, oh, great, I'm gonna get these speakeasy promotions. They're gonna come right to the app that I could see my photos on.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Awesome. So our next hidden treasure is about the unlimited expert training that is provided with TouchMD. It sounds like there's so many features and tools that are in the TouchMD platform, but not everyone is making full use of them. So could you talk about the training that's available to your users?
Yeah, of course, of course. Great question. So, essentially, we do something that we've always prided ourselves on is trying to provide white glove service to differentiate us as a company. We believe, of course, we're biased, but we believe we have the most beautiful software in the industry, the most fun to use software, the most loved software. But really, it doesn't work. I mean, no matter how beautiful, I have actually right here, this glove is my favorite Rawlings glove, and I actually have my girl's name engraved on it, Sammy Evie Mila, right here. But this glove means it means everything to me. But if I'm actually playing, and if I don't break it in, if I don't use it, then it really doesn't mean anything. I can't play catch. I can't get an out. I can't catch a perfect game, or even try to catch a game on its own, if I don't use it. So no matter how great that glove is, it's kind of irrelevant if I'm not on the baseball field, breaking it in and using it. And the same with TouchMD. If you don't actually try to use it and practice taking photos, knowing that you're not going to be perfect the first time, if you don't get on the calls and carve out at least 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours really, to become a power user, if you don't have the time to do that, you really probably shouldn't sign up, because you're just going to be wasting your time and your money. And it's something where it is an investment of money, but it's also an investment of your time. And we take it seriously, to where we're going to try to expedite the training, but also tailor it to you, and take small bites, and realize that you'll probably never use 100% of it. But we do have multiple levels of service that we provide for the practice, which is really nice. We actually have a new package that just came out. So you always get training that's included for TouchMD, which is amazing, from our implementation and the ongoing support. And of course, when new features come out, we highlight them, whether it's on a podcast or we highlight them in emails. But we actually just have released this new package where you get all of that. Plus, you have a 1 hour consulting session I think we might be the only software in aesthetics that has a dedicated arm of the company that's consulting. And so specifically for our med spa product, that is where you actually get an hour of consulting built in, which is pretty cool. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, we're always trying to, take it to the next level. I'm sure in the future we'll have something for plastics and ophthalmology and all the different things, or all the different verticals that we're in. But we were just at the med spa show over the weekend and we launched our new product. And in the top tier package, you get consulting, which is pretty cool. So, but yeah, it's hands on. You're working with people that have been here with us for a long time. We have, a couple people on our team. I can name them, Sabra and Amy, who have been with us for, I think about just as long as I have. So I've been with the company for July will be 13 years for me. And I think
Wow.
they're at like that 10 to 13 year mark. So it's pretty common for you to work with somebody that's been doing it for 10 years because they love the company and they love the people that they're working with. So, it's not like we have, I mean, I guess you could say we have a little bit of a secret sauce, but really the secret sauce is just, being kind and showing up and, doing what we say and saying what we really do. So,
So most of our listeners are going to be plastic surgeons, dermatology, and med spas. I know you're really gaining market in the med spas, and they probably need the most help of any, in my opinion. But it doesn't hurt for them to even reach out to their marketing companies. Say, hey, we have this TouchMD, we need some graphics, or, have you had any experience with TouchMD that you've helped other of your clients? And they can help create that unique brand experience that you're talking about. I know we've helped several of our clients along the way, and they'll sign up and they might feel a little overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I had to do all this, and then they start down the road of getting it set up, and little by little they do. And then 6 months down the road, they're using it like a pro, and it's wonderful when you ask for help if you need it.
yeah, of course.
Little hidden treasure there is ask for help.
I love that. It's true. Yeah. Don't
Yeah.
be shy to ask for help.
So the next one gets into a little bit of where I'm just really passionate about, and it's the before and after photo snap. And I love all the options that you have, and I talk a lot about medically accurate before and after photos. We've kind of gotten a little bit away from that with anybody can snap a picture and they consider it, a medical record. Well, you know, um, not all before and afters are equally, but you've got some really good tools to help. Even if you're using a smartphone, you've got some tools to help give the best outcome possible using a smartphone or using a mirrorless SLR. So let's talk about, like I can guarantee you that if you put those that equipment in front of person A or in person B and tell them the same instructions, the outcome is not going to be the same. Some people just naturally can look through a viewfinder and do a great job. Other people just can't. So, tell me about the tools that you have and how you help practices get the best photos possible. The whole storage from taking the photo through storage.
Yeah, of course. And thank you
Big
for teeing it.
question.
It's an amazing question. I love it. It's probably my favorite question. I'm really, I mean, for those listening, I'm very much um, invested in this experience and I love this experience. I love talking about this and I feel very blessed and grateful, fortunate that I get to not only work with amazing people like the two of you and all the practices that we serve, but to be able to work with cool technology that's it's fun to show and you're proud of and it's exciting. And it's changed, just in my career, I've seen it go from taking photos with a webcam and people be dropping their mouth thinking, that is so cool. You just took it with a webcam and it popped up on the screen. And then it was, oh my gosh, you just took a picture with the camera with an iFi card in it and then it went to the computer. And then it was, you just took a picture with a Samsung camera that has an Android interface and then it saved. And then it was, whoa, you guys have an iPhone app and it does all these things with the iPad, and then today it's all of that plus more. So, really with photography, what I've learned is there's companies that do a great job taking a photo and managing a photo. There's a lot of photo companies in the industry. And where I think we shine is we realize that there's a story with the photo in terms of one photo, where's that one photo going to go? And what are all the things we need to do with that photo? Well, the first thing is we need to have a consistent photo and a consistent, ideally, perfect world. I know everyone listening here doesn't have a perfect setup. Some might. But I'm going to say best case scenario, and then we could talk about the next case. But best case would be you have a photo room. You have beautiful lighting, maybe lighting that pops off and bounces off the wall, typically is what I would recommend. And there's different views on whether you should go with a blue background or a black background. And Dr. Mike Edwards, who is a KOL for Next Tech in Las Vegas, Nevada, past president of ASAPS, or I know I should be saying the aesthetics or the American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery. And he's amazing. But two of his partners use a black background and he uses blue. And so it's not to say there's one's better than the other, but some people have their opinions. The idea would be that you have, a tripod with a DSLR, a mirrorless camera, and that we can get those photos as consistently as possible with a consistent regimen of angles. And different services should require different angles, right? Whether it's breast surgery, some surgeons want to get 7 angles, some 5, that's fine. For face, sometimes we want 5, sometimes we want 3. For hair, I've had hair surgery. Sometimes, ideally, you're sitting down. I personally like when people are sitting down and they have a chair each time, and then we can move the patient that way. Some practices don't like that. They want the patient standing up. But the idea is, how can we get the most consistent photo each and every time with the same lighting and the same distance and the same angles, expressions, everything, right? Hair. You shouldn't have your hair down and your before and your hair up in the after. You shouldn't have a necklace on in the after and a necklace off in the before. Shouldn't be smiling in the after, but not in the before. Like, let's have it consistent. And those are kind of basic, easy things. But the next piece is we take a photo, and let's say it's a beautiful photo, great lighting, high res, it's everything. What happens is we took that photo, and in a perfect world that everybody wishes that they could use that photo quickly in the consult, and they realize if they're not quick enough, it's going to push them back for the day. And that's where we come in to say, hey, we're going to tell a story with this photo because we know that there's different chapters in this book. The first chapter is take a consistent photo. The next chapter is get it in front of the patient as quickly as possible. And then when we get it in front of the patient as quickly as possible, well, typically people don't have tools. So you need tools to be able to showcase the photo. That's where we come in. We say, hey, the next chapter, this story is we have the most beautiful drawing tools. We can do side-by-side videos. We can watermark. We can actually shade off, their submental fat. We can do different things, showing asymmetry of the breasts and the shoulders. We could do all these different things with the photo. I can watermark skincare regimen for your AM regimen and your PM regimen. We could do just phenomenal things. I can actually replace the backdrop where we can cut around their face and their body, and you could choose any color skew, which is amazing, right? Any hex color for your brand, and you can pinpoint that exactly. And then the next point would be getting that photo after we've had a great consult with that photo, delivering that photo to the patient. So when the patient leaves, the patient can download the app or log in through the portal, and they could see their photos from home, which is amazing, right? Plus, they can access the patient education and their consents and their pre and post, anything that the patient needs, even the e-commerce for like your skincare store where they can actually shop, which is pretty cool. And then the last piece would be being able to post that to your social media. So being able to watermark your logo and prep it to go live on whatever platform you'd like, and to tag that patient, but of course to get the patient's consent for the photo, which we can, of course, track that as well. So it's this end-to-end photography. Now, the one thing I didn't mention is we give practices two routes. We say, hey, if you want to use an iPhone or an iPad, we have the software built with grid lines, ghosting, sequencing, and video. It actually has a level so that when you're on a perfect 90-degree angle, it auto captures the photo. We actually just launched our new AI within the photo app, which actually helps the provider, whoever's taking the photo, get a consistent photo. And imagine if I was turning, so if I took a photo now, it's looking for my chin and my nose and the pupils of my eyes. And if I turned, the grid line would automatically flip because it would know that, oh, he's on the 3/4 and it flips it.
Oh, wow.
If I turned, it's going to change the grid line
Wow.
without me doing anything. And it says, here you go. But it also tells whoever's doing it on the bottom, it says, move left, move right. And it's doing a little bit of zoom and out, just a little bit, but it tells you to get consistent. And if you're angled down or angled up, it's telling you tilt up, tilt down. So it's trying to navigate. It's essentially the navigator of the photography system, which is pretty cool. So we have the grid lines. We don't really need, what's cool is we have ghosting, but with this new AI technology, that was always so that you could see the before and then you would know if you're close enough or far enough away. If you have it set out in your practice where you're always standing on the piece of tape and they're standing on the dial, you don't really need it. Plus, the new AI will guide you as you're taking a photo. So we're not manipulating the photo. We don't do 3D imaging. This is literally just a guide to say, we're looking at the patient, we're tracking what you probably can't really see or pick up, and we're going to tell you when to take the photo. And we can even take it for you if you choose that button, which is pretty
Oh,
cool.
wow.
The second route is our partnership with Canon. It's actually an exclusive partnership that we have. And with this partnership, the Canon camera can sync with the iPad or iPhone in real time. And it's easy to set up. If you have a newer camera, any camera will work as long as, actually, yeah, any Canon camera works with it at this point. But I have one of the newer Canon cameras, the new iPad, USB-C, you plug into the USB-C into the camera, it auto detects it, and you get a live feed. So the iPad becomes the viewfinder. It's almost like you got a 13-inch viewfinder with the grid lines, with the ghosting, with the AI. And what's cool is when you take a photo now, they actually bypass the memory card and goes right into the cloud, which of
Wow.
course, when you take a photo, it goes right to the consult room, right to the patient, and then you could do whatever you want to do with the photo.
That's incredible. Getting rid of the the opportunity for error and capturing before and after seems like you just almost thought of everything.
Thank you. We're trying. We really are trying. We're trying to say, what else can we do? We used to think
Yeah.
ghosting, and ghosting is cool. Ghosting demos really well. Like when you see it, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like a party trick.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little harder when you're actually doing it. But this
Mm-hmm.
new AI that we have where it flips the grid lines based on, and it's recognizing the body part too. So it'll be able to eventually do it for, right now it's face, but eventually they'll be able to do it for other body contouring
Mm-hmm.
sections where it'll know as the patient's turning his or her shoulders. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
So we talked a lot about TouchMD and all the great things that you guys offer. Could you just maybe give, and you've touched maybe on a couple of these things, but three or so tips on just someone that maybe doesn't have the budget for TouchMD or someone, that's maybe just starting out, but how to capture better before and after photos. I mean, just if outside of the system or just some general things, because not everybody's going to want to spend the money, although I always tell our practices that the before and afters are the proof of your life's work. All the years that you spend in school, in residency, all the training. This is the thing that people that really, is the physical representation of that. So that I really push people to take them seriously, but of course not everyone does. So just a couple little things that people could do better.
Yeah. The first thing would just be um, having consistency. So if you don't have a photo room, that's okay. But what I'd recommend doing is look on Amazon for some type of color, maybe fabric. You can even just go to the store and get some type of colored fabric that you can hang on your wall, or potentially, depending on the wall, just paint the wall. a certain color and have that specifically for each of your rooms. The goal is to understand your experience, your patient experience and workflows, so that no matter what device or service the patient's getting, that we're going to have a consistent backdrop so that when they become a lifetime patient, we can always go back and have consistency there. Now, that is why we came out with the background removal feature, though, to help practices to go back to their old photos to get a similar color. But first thing would be look at your office. Let's say, I'm going to say brand new med spa, starting off in a salon suite. It's pretty popular right now. Your one room salon suite. You've got a device, maybe you're doing injectables and skincare, and you can't paint a wall, right? You don't own the space. Let's go get some fabric. I'm going to say black. I'm going to hang it up on my door. And, I'm going to say you're probably going to be using, I would get a dedicated device for your photos, and I would look at, I'm not going to recommend a specific just to legal reasons, but find something that's HIPAA compliant that you can store those photos, and make sure that you don't leave them on the device. So that's my recommendation. Look for, you want to make sure that you have distance in terms of, mark it down. So you're like, every time I'm taking the photo right here, get a piece of tape. I would try to keep it as professional as possible. So I wouldn't get just a regular piece of tape. I'd spend like $20 on a custom sticker. And I would probably spend it's probably more like $30 to say $50 on a couple stickers on where I stand. And you can actually just create the photo dial with a sticker, with, a six-sided photo dial. And you can have AI. I've used ChatGPT to create a photo dial with a logo, and I told it exactly the dimensions that I wanted it to be, and it created it. So I would use ChatGPT for that. The other part, the next tip would be I would write down all of my services. So this salon suite, they do Halo and BBL, and then they do Botox and lip filler, and then they offer one skincare line. So for those services, I would write down, I'd go on ChatGPT, even the free version or if you have the paid version, and ask ChatGPT the sequences that it recommends, and then think of, from your perspective, challenge that to say, this is 5 angles. I'm probably just going to do 3, but get those angles listed out. And then again, you can use ChatGPT to say, create a PDF of this and put my logo on that PDF. I just did this for my wife yesterday. She created a summer list on all the activities she wants to do for the girls. And it's like plant flowers, release ladybugs, whatever. And she sent it to me in a couple images, and I just used ChatGPT to put it down. So I would do that. And I mean, all of that is pretty inexpensive. I mean, you can get a pretty decent iPhone with a 12 megapixel camera for a used one. You could probably get for $100. So, yeah, just be careful though. The caution is to make sure that you don't store those photos on the device, and leave those around. So just be as secure and compliant. Stealing from AmSpa, compliance is cool. Try to start out the right way the first time. And I have so many people that tell me that they wish they would have just started out with what they knew was the best from the beginning instead of having to switch in the future. And I'm not, that doesn't even just relate to TouchMD. Anything that you're doing, if you can afford it and your gut feeling, trust your gut is what I say. Trust your gut, and try to start out the best way the first time, and avoid having to switch. With software, it's not fun switching software. So those would be my tips though, right off the bat. And of course, lighting, but that's going to depend on, what direction. Do you have a window? Do you not have a window? Even just a ring light to start off. I actually have a couple cool little lights here, but you can, on Amazon, there's you could just look up, or Amazon and YouTube, you could look up a bunch of really good lighting that's less than $100.
So let's just put that all to the side and say, you know what, we really recommend doing it professionally. At least sign up for a demo. Bare minimum, sign up for a demo and find out about Snap, find out about TouchMD, but bare minimum, you've got to be able to take medically accurate before and after photos, and you deserve it for yourself. You deserve it for your marketing. You deserve it because that's your life's work. So
Yeah.
if you don't think you can afford it, at least sign up for a demo so that you know what's out there and you can say, one day I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get my photos in shape just as soon as I can. And
Okay.
I'm sure that you can help with that, Tyler.
Yeah.
You can let them know how to get in touch with you or how to sign up for
Totally.
a demo.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
How do they get in touch with you, Tyler? How do they learn more about Snap, especially because that's dear to my heart, but the whole TouchMD experience? Um, can you help them know what the next step is that they can take?
Yeah, of course. So you can reach out to hello@touchmd.com. You can also contact me. I'm happy to, I manage our sales team, but I'm happy to get you in touch with um, the representative who covers, your specific city or state. And it's pretty easy, just tyler@touchmd.com. And I actually would prefer you to do that if you can, so that I can make sure that you get white glove service. And also, if you can mention this podcast, um, I'd love to make sure I thank Candace and TK for having us on and give credit where credit's due. So not that this isn't a sponsored and there's nothing along those lines, but I do like to show my appreciation.
Absolutely. And do you happen to have a demo video?
Yeah. So I have actually done pretty much all of our videos on YouTube for TouchMD. And so what we can do is we can include a link to the playlist of videos,
Yeah,
and you can choose to just check out the photo app. You can choose to check out everything or get a full demo. So
absolutely. So I have loved getting to know your hidden treasures, TK. I know you have too. And, you know, TK has spoken to me about the golden moments before and thought that was such a nice tip. And I think maybe even we uncovered a couple other golden moments. And one was when they're standing on that dial and they're taking the pictures and they can look in their pictures and sign right there. There's
yep.
another little golden moment.
One
Well,
one
and
more to add real quick is
yeah.
just take a picture, and you can do this with or without TouchMD. Obviously, TouchMD is going to do it the best and the quickest, and it'll just be an amazing experience. But taking a picture of the patient, getting that picture to the patient, and handing the iPad with an Apple Pencil and saying, "Hey, Ashley, while you're waiting, we'd like you to go ahead and circle any areas of concern or that you'd like to enhance. We'll be with you shortly." And you can either do it on one photo or get 5 or 3 or 2 angles up. And then you can zoom in on certain parts, and then they could just circle, circle, circle while they're waiting. And then you uncover areas that you might not have even known to talk about.
Well, I'll tell you, you have definitely identified a wonderful experience for the consultation process, the after surgery process, and just the whole at home experience, and just a delight to know. TK, do you have any last questions or comments before we tell him thank you and we'll close this podcast?
No, I love the idea. ChatGPT has just become such a great tool and resource, and I do love the idea of getting your set angles per procedure on a PDF and having that handy when you're taking the photos. I mean, some of those things people just don't even think about, but they're so easy and basic. But that helps with the consistency of like, oh, okay, this is an eyelid lift patient. I know I need, you know, front oblique side, and it just helps kind of take the guesswork out. So I love that, sometimes the easiest things you just kind of skip over, but I love getting to know you, Tyler, and your insight into the patient experience is just, top,
Phenomenal.
yeah, phenomenal.
It's
So thank you.
top
And
class.
yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you. You guys are so kind. And I've loved, honestly, I cherish our friendship, and I've loved being on this show. And I appreciate your time. You guys have been phenomenal. Those who are listening, just know that these two are, I mean, two of the most beloved in the industry. And I'm not just saying that or sugarcoating here, but also I was very impressed with how much prep work you put into this podcast. I've been on many podcasts, and I would say this was the most prep work that I've seen done. So I was very impressed and appreciative of the time that you guys took to make this the best podcast that it could be, or the best show that it could be. So thank you.
awesome.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Tyler, and all the contact info will be in the show notes. And thank you again.
Thank you guys.
So,
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
thank you, you too.